The rhythmic creak of the old house settling was a familiar lullaby to Alex, a sound he'd grown accustomed to in the 6 months since moving in. But tonight, another sound wove itself into the familiar chorus, a discordant note in the symphony of the night. It was a soft, rhythmic breathing, a wet, shallow sound, like a sleeper with a chest full of fluid. He tossed in his bed, the sheets tangling around his legs, pulling the pillow over his head to block out the unsettling noise. It was probably just the wind, or a branch scraping against the window pane. Yet, the sound persisted, steady and unnerving, seeming to emanate from somewhere within the room itself. The digital clock on his nightstand glowed a stark 3:17 a.m. Sleep felt a million miles away, chased off by the insistent, ghostly respiration that filled the oppressive silence of his dark bedroom. With a frustrated sigh, Alex pushed himself up, his back against the cool headboard. He strained his ears, listening intently, the simple gray t-shirt sticking to his skin with a film of sweat. The room was silent. Absolutely, unnervingly silent. The breathing had stopped. A wave of relief washed over him, followed by a flush of embarrassment. He was a man in his 20s, spooked by the sounds of an old house, shaking his head at his own foolishness. He slumped back onto the mattress, pulling the covers up to his chin. He closed his eyes, willing sleep to come. That's when it started again. In -Halle.X-Halle. It was closer now, much closer, as if someone or something was standing right beside his bed, their breath a foul, cold whisper against the still air. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the slow, deliberate rhythm of the unseen breather. Panic seized him, cold and sharp. At-tu-look. At-tu-no. Fighting every instinct that screamed at him to stay frozen, to pretend he was asleep. Alex slowly, painstakingly, leaned over the edge of the bed. His messy brown hair fell into his eyes as he peered into the inky blackness underneath. His gaze swept the dusty floorboards, the forgotten socks, the empty space stretching back to the wall. Nothing. There was nothing there. Just darkness and dust bunnies. A shaky, relieved laugh escaped his lips. It was his imagination, working overtime in the dead of night. He was just tired, stressed from work. That was all. He flopped back onto the pillow, the tension draining from his slender frame, his body heavy with exhaustion and relief. A single, impossibly cold touch landed on his bare shoulder. It wasn't a hand. It was the distinct, sharp pressure of one long, jagged fingernail, digging slightly into his skin. Alex's body went rigid, every muscle locking in place. He couldn't scream, couldn't breathe. The soft, rhythmic breathing returned, no longer a faint sound from across the room, but a loud, wet, gurgling noise directly in his ear. A long strand of stringy, black hair brushed against his cheek as the thing behind him leaned in closer, its putrid breath washing over him in a sickening wave. He didn't need to see the gaunt figure, the pale skin, or the tattered white gown. He knew was there. He was no longer alone in his bed.
Subscribe if you dare.